Welcome to QuickBooks Online for Nonprofits. My name is Ufuma Ogaga. I am the founder and owner of Goshen Bookkeeping and Consulting. I specialize in serving nonprofits nationwide, helping them to increase profitability one mission at a time. In today's session, we are going to focus on creating a budget inside of QuickBooks Online. So let's get started. Now, the final way of creating a budget inside of QuickBooks Online is by creating a budget by class. As a nonprofit organization, you tend to use classes to really mirror how your Form 990 is presented, which is typically the program administration and fundraising. So in this tutorial, we're going to create our classes inside of QuickBooks Online. Now, in order to create your classes, there are a couple of things that you have to do first before you can even create the budget. You need to go to the gear icon. You need to go under your company. You need to go under Accounts and Settings. Once you click on Accounts and Settings, what you want to do is click on the Advanced tab. When you click on the Advanced tab, it's going to bring the screen for you. So in this screen, you want to find the option that says Track Classes. So in this option, you want to put the checkbox right next to Track Classes. You also want to put a checkbox right next to where it says Warn me when a transaction isn't assigned to a class. Also want to leave it at the default option, which just says Assign classes one to each row in a transaction. So you want to leave it at the default option. If you are using locations to track your donor restriction, with donor restriction and without donor restriction, you can turn on locations. If you're not using locations, don't turn it on. Click Save once you've turned that on. And then you want to go down to the green button that says Done. And you want to click on that to exit out of the settings window. And of course, QuickBooks is going to refresh. Once you have turned on class tracking, you actually need to create the classes before you can actually do the budget. So we're going back to the gear icon again. Under Lists, you're going to click on All Lists. And under All Lists, you're going to click on Classes. And here you want to enter all of your classes. Once you've created all of your classes, now you are actually ready to go and create your first budget by class. To create your budget by class, you're going to go back to the gear icon. Under the Tools menu, you're going to click on Budget. And then you're going to click Add a Budget. And we're going to give this budget a name. Leaving 2019 as the fiscal year. We're going to say our interval is yearly. Now, since I am going to subdivide the budgets that we're about to create by class, and I know that this is a sample file and obviously there's no class tracking data inside, I'm just going to leave the pre-filled data as no. Under the subdivide option, you will now see the class tracking subdivide your budget by class. So I'm going to click on that option. And QuickBooks is going to ask you, okay, which class do you want to create your budget for? I usually try to say all of them. And I'll show you how to switch between all of them to create your budget. So I'm just going to select all of them because I want to create my budget for all three classes. And here where it says View Budget for, you have an option of switching between this when you start creating the budget. So we're going to click the next green button. And QuickBooks will automatically default to the first option, which is General. Same process that we applied before. If your budget is on an annual basis, you want to click the gear icon, View by Month, add everything in the first month of your fiscal year. For the sake of this demo and for this particular tutorial, I'm not going to repeat that steps. I'm just going to leave everything on yearly base. So this budget for this particular class looks fine to me. You want to make sure you are in the right class. So this budget looks fine to me. Instead of clicking save and close like we did before, all I'm going to do is click save. And when I click save, it's automatically going to save the amounts that I've entered for this particular class for me. That way I can click on the program class and switch to enter the rest of the information that I need to enter. I usually just flip back and forth to make sure my net income, all of that information matches what I need. Once I've done all of that entry process, I will go back to the icon. This is where you get to click save and close. So now instead of clicking save, I am actually click save and close. The budget that we just created is actually here at the top. So every time you add a new budget or you edit a budget, it will automatically show up as the first one on the top of the list. So at the top, I have my budget by classes that I just created. I am going to go to the action column, click the drop down option right next to the edit button, and then click budget overview report. Click on that. What you can see on my screen as the column headers, you see all of the classes that we have inside of QuickBooks Online. So we have our general class, we have a program class, and we have a fundraising class. And under each classes, we have all of the budget amounts that we entered into the system to make up our total amount. This is typically what most churches do, where they have their different classes, or as I like to call it, different fund types. They create their budget based on the different fund types. Some of the fund types might not have income, might most likely have much expenses. So that's usually what they do. For my regular nonprofits, yours will most likely be admin, program, and fundraising. So once you've gone through this process, you can repeat the same customization that we did before. Make the negative numbers in parentheses, take out the cents. If you want to remove the date and time, you can do that as well.